Have you ever heard the saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger"? Well, today we are diving into a story that takes this to a whole new level, a tale from the animal kingdom that's more human than you might think. It's the story of a monkey, an outcast, who was banished from his home only to return as a king. Picture this. Deep in the lush, sprawling forests of Sonso, Uganda, lives a community of chimpanzees. Like any society, they have leaders, followers, and of course, drama. For years, the alpha male of this group was a chimp named Jackson. He was the boss, the top dog, or, well, the top chimp. But a new contender was rising through the ranks, a strong and ambitious chimp named Yasser. Yasser eventually challenged Jackson and won, taking over the coveted alpha position. Now, you might think Jackson would just step aside and accept his new, lower status. But that's not what happened. Another powerful chimp, named Robert, saw this as his opportunity. He allied with the newly defeated Jackson, and together, they formed a formidable coalition against the new alpha, Yasser. The tension in the group was thick enough to cut with a banana leaf. This is where our main character enters the scene. His name is Moya. Moya wasn't a former alpha or a powerful contender. In fact, he was a bit of a nobody. He was a low-ranking male, often on the sidelines, trying to stay out of the way of the big players. He saw the power struggle unfolding between Yasser and the Jackson-Robert alliance and decided to make a move. He chose to side with Yasser, the current alpha. It was a risky bet, but he probably hoped it would earn him some favor and protection. Unfortunately for Moya, his bet didn't pay off at all. The coalition of Jackson and Robert proved to be too strong. They were relentless in their attacks on Yasser, creating constant instability. And in their campaign to overthrow the leader, they didn't forget who had sided with him. Moya became a target. He was harassed, bullied, and attacked by the powerful duo and their supporters. Life became unbearable for him. He was an outcast in his own home. The constant stress and physical attacks took their toll. Eventually, Moya had enough. He couldn't take the persecution any longer. So, he did something drastic. He left. He vanished from the Sonso community, disappearing into the vast, unknown wilderness. For the other chimps, he was gone, likely for good. Most chimps who leave their group, especially alone, don't survive. They face rival groups, predators, and the challenge of finding food all by themselves. Moya was presumed lost forever. For 5 long years, the Sonso community continued with its own drama. The power struggles ebbed and flowed. Jackson and Robert continued their reign of terror, making life difficult for anyone who opposed them. The group was in a state of constant conflict. But then, something completely unexpected happened. A familiar face reappeared on the fringes of their territory. It was Moya. He had survived. Not only had he survived his solitary exile, but he had also changed. He was no longer the scrawny, low-ranking chimp who had fled in fear. Moya was now bigger, stronger, and carried himself with a newfound confidence. 5 years in the wild, fending for himself, had forged him into a hardened and resilient survivor. He had learned to navigate the dangers of the forest alone, a feat that few chimps ever accomplish. When Moya returned, he didn't just quietly try to rejoin the group. He came back with a purpose. He observed the dynamics of his old community from a distance. He saw that the same old conflicts were still raging. Jackson and Robert were still causing trouble, and the group was fractured and unstable. Moya saw an opportunity. He began to make his presence known, but strategically. He didn't rush in and challenge everyone at once. Instead, he started by forming new alliances. He connected with other males who were also tired of the constant fighting and the oppressive rule of the dominant coalition. He used his new strength not for brute force, but for clever social maneuvering. He groomed other chimps, shared food, and offered support, slowly building a network of allies. The other chimps were astonished. This was the same Moya they had chased away years ago. But now, he was a force to be reckoned with. His main rival, Robert, who had been one of his chief tormentors, was still a powerful figure. The two of them were destined for a showdown. And what a showdown it was! The conflict wasn't just a single fight. It was a prolonged campaign. Moya, using his new coalition of supporters, began to systematically challenge Robert's authority. There were displays of dominance, intense stare-downs, and strategic chases. Moya was relentless. He used the skills he had honed during his exile, patience, strategy, and a deep understanding of survival to outmaneuver his old bully. Finally, the moment came. In a decisive confrontation, Moya defeated Robert. He had overthrown the very chimp who had made his life a living hell and forced him into exile. The balance of power in the Sonso community shifted dramatically. With Robert defeated and Jackson aging, the path was clear. Moya, the outcast, the refugee, the chimp who was left for dead, ascended to the highest position in the group. He became the new alpha male. The Banished had returned as king. His rule was different. Having experienced life at the very bottom, Moya seemed to rule with a different kind of wisdom. Researchers who observed him noted that he was a more diplomatic and stable leader. He was assertive when he needed to be, but he didn't rely on the constant bullying and intimidation that had characterized the previous regime. He brought a sense of order and peace to the group that had been missing for years. Moya's story is incredible. It's a real-life epic of resilience, strategy, and ultimate triumph. It shows us that the worst experiences in our lives can sometimes become the very source of our greatest strength. Moya was forced into a situation that should have ended him, but instead, it transformed him. He learned to be self-reliant, strategic, and incredibly tough. These were the exact qualities he needed to not only survive, but to return and claim the throne. It is a powerful reminder that social status isn't always permanent and that true strength comes from within. It's not just about physical power, but about intelligence, social skills, and the will to persevere against all odds. Moya went from zero to hero, from an outcast to a king, proving that even in the jungle, the ultimate comeback story is possible. What do you think we can learn from Moya's journey? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's a fascinating look at the complex social lives of our closest animal relatives. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more amazing tales from the natural world. See you next time.